Hi beauties, today we're going to be discussing the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic reimagined. And I say reimagined because this is an aesthetic that had a hard fall in 2016, but it's now reemerging in 2024. And I do believe we're going to be seeing this aesthetic take over in a new modernized way, especially during the promotion for the upcoming fall 2024 Victoria's Secret fashion show that will probably happen during midsummer, early fall of this year. What happens with the aesthetic after the show, I believe, is in the fate of how well the show is executed and received. So I believe the true essence of Victoria's Secret is mostly leaning into being girly, feminine, soft yet fierce, powerful, and adult. And when I say adult, I don't really mean that in a TVMA sort of way. I more so mean it in a way that even with this comeback, I don't think they should focus on appealing to the younger generations like a lot of brands do, like ages 16 to 21-year-olds, as much as they should appeal to the 25 to 35-year-old demographic of women who actually get the brand and grew up with the brand. Because it goes beyond pink and pretty, it's really sensual, it's alluring, and I think if they capitalize off of that confident, grown woman, girl power appeal, I think they will do great. This includes, for me, not having online influencers or celebrities that aren't seasoned models integrated into their branding. Like, please don't Gen Zify the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic. I do think that's wishing for too much, but honestly, I think the original Victoria's Secret aesthetic is perfect the way it is. I want to see supermodels. I want to see the women who take their career seriously and it's their entire heart. They just embody what a supermodel always has been, because I believe it's an art form. It's a way of being that, yes, many people cannot achieve, but that's where I think the appeal has always been. I think if they go into it appealing to a younger audience, it can just be way more problematic because 16 to 21-year-olds can't really grasp the concept of that level of womanhood without conceptualizing it to a point where it's completely all about consumerism. And I don't think they see these types of aesthetics as subjective or understand it as subjective more than they see it as objective. And they're so impressionable, which makes a lot of trends and aesthetics that appeal to that specific demographic very fleeting and very disposable, especially because they're constantly growing bored and growing out of things. So when I think of the Victoria's Secret model, I think of confidence and determination. I remember when they would do the castings and it was just such a big deal to the model's career. You would just know that they worked their asses off to achieve their figure, and they've studied the models that came before them. To be in the Victoria's Secret fashion show was just the ultimate dream. So I think there's so much appeal to that type of determination. And although, yes, it can be problematic, it has been problematic before, I honestly want to just cover the essence of chasing your dreams and how the Victoria's Secret aesthetic really amplifies that in a lot of ways. So dream hair, dream skin, dream body, dreamy personality, lingerie, bed, dreams. The concept of unattainability alludes to something that can only be dreamed of, that can only be imagined. And to me, the entire brand embodies this concept and kind of makes it real life. And it makes it accessible to the general public. It encourages you to dream and imagine. And that's why I personally really like this aesthetic. I also think that people should take this more into consideration when criticizing the brand, because if people were more objective in this specific way and can kind of recognize just overall branding and consistent imagery and how it's important, it's easier to kind of just ignore it if you don't like it or if you don't support it, especially with anything else that you see in the media. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't embrace inclusivity. I absolutely believe they should, but I think that they should be very careful to keep that kind of exclusive essence that allows the brand to not be so gimmicky. Some things that I think they should kind of push and incorporate further into the brand are things like sustainability, ethical practices in all forms of production from start to finish. So that means higher quality clothing, as well as wellness checks and mental health awareness amongst their models and even the people who support the brand, as well as like references to clean beauty as well and just holistic practices in general. So let's get into the specifics of this aesthetic and how it's adopted today, how it's viewed today, pre-fall 2024 Victoria's Secret fashion show. So this is going to include hair, makeup, beauty, and body image as it has been reimagined today. And don't worry, because like I said, this aesthetic is very specific and very niche, so it doesn't really stray away from the classic Victoria's Secret angel style that we're all very familiar with. So it's going to be fun. I think you guys will really like this video. So getting into the hair, the Victoria's Secret angel is known for the iconic Victoria's Secret angel waves and bombshell hair. So this is usually big hair that appeals to the rules of color theory in a lot of ways, especially with their mottos. So low and high contrast looks when it comes to color, and just an overall carefully effortless blowout type of style. This is seen in modern trends like the overnight heatless curls for no heat damaged hair. We also have the 90s blowout hair trend where girls take their blow dry brushes and curl their hair backwards in like that Farrah Fawcett style for that extra big fluffy look. You can also use big rollers under the dryer to get the same look. Even just having rollers in the hair and going through that process is just so Victoria's Secret angel aesthetic in general. But if you really pay attention to the Victoria's Secret angel's hair, the hair is just always flowing in the wind and bouncy. It's never really flat. Pulled back ponies are rare, especially on the runway. There's little to no overly gelled or too perfect type of styles. It's always either cute short cuts or mid-back length hair, nothing longer. Layers and bangs paired with this are also very popular. And as for hair colors, like I said, it's usually blondes, browns, and dark blacks, but nothing too stark or too bright or unnatural, but more so like cool toned and natural, definitely coinciding with the undertone of the specific model. But the hair overall is very important, and it's a lot more technical, the process, than you would think it actually is. So getting into makeup and skincare, with the Victoria's Secret angel aesthetic, there is an emphasis on skin health and natural glow, with Victoria's Secret models often seen endorsing skincare routines and healthy habits like that in general, even at an older age. So girly makeup aesthetics, including glitter and pink, but done in a natural and sexy way, it's just so nostalgic of the Victoria's Secret angel culture. So highlighter is also a big thing with this makeup aesthetic. So under the brows, inner eye, the nose, cheekbones, cupid's bow, and on the body, just anywhere where the light will naturally hit, the highlighter is kind of placed a little bit more there so that shine can be a little bit more dramatic. For the eyes, like simple eyeshadow looks are pretty popular within this aesthetic. So think brown smoky eyes or glowy shimmer tones that complement the skin tone, but it's never really anything like overly noticeable. But also with the eyes, like a white or beige colored eyeliner on the lower waterline for bright eyes, along with like a subtle smoked out winged liner, never anything overly dramatic or sharp, usually like a dark brown or just like a smoky black so as to not create too much harshness. So you're not really gonna see too many like really sharp winged liners or cut creases, none of that dramatic makeup that kind of started in 2016 actually. So along with the eyes, a couple of coats of mascara or semi-natural faux lashes, preferably with a slight almond shape. Demi lashes are actually perfect for this. As far as the face makeup, like you don't really want to do a harsh contour, especially if you don't need it. There are some Victoria's Secret models that I noticed that have low amounts of buccal fat and naturally high cheekbones. This is embraced just as much as having like round cheeks and a more youthful face is embraced. If you have more of a soft look, like you kind of lean into that instead of trying to like carve out new features. And if you have more of a structured face, you lean into that. So in general, just more bronzy looks rather than a heavy contour. And even for some of the Victoria's Secret models who lean more into like the cutesy type of ingenue type essence type of face, like they won't even be bronzed as much as their skin would kind of just be clear and soft looking because they lean more into that aesthetic, whereas like bronzy looks are a bit more fierce. So anybody with like naturally high cheekbones and sharp features, that bronze will kind of just complement those type of looks. Overall, there's not much changing of the facial features with the makeup as much as there is adoring your features with the Victoria's Secret aesthetic. So soft and girly eyeshadow, again, more cool tones than warm tones with this type of makeup as well, with all skin tones as well. The Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic really does remind me of like big fluffy powder puffs for some reason, probably because they're almost never dewy. Like their makeup style is more leaning towards the radiant side, which basically just means like controlling where the shine goes, like I mentioned earlier, by using highlighter. But it's also very reminiscent of the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic, like matte pink lipsticks or just a touch of gloss, nothing overly glossy. Soft pink blush is really nice as well. As far as the overall style, natural sexy is what I would call it. Beauty aesthetics, non-dramatic makeup. Like I said, freshly blown out hair, nothing oily or overly styled. Classic nails, effortless, high maintenance type of looks, and diverse beauty within the borders of the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic. So there's really no tattoos or piercings besides ear piercings, and this is just an overall very classic style. So getting into more of the fashion, it's so funny because Victoria's Secret actually had a clothing and shoe wear line that was pretty popular back in the day as well, like the Victoria's Secret cross wrap shirt. It was like made to be super flattering along with other items in their clothing line, and it's pretty hard to find like clothing that fits that way now. But I'd also like to attribute the off-duty model aesthetic to the Victoria's Secret Angel franchise. It creates this almost unexpected balance that really mellows out the entire aesthetic. When you're on stage, you're perfect and glammed up, but off stage, it's giving low-rise yoga pants and a tank top, very neutral colors as well, but still soft and cool toned. Sunglasses and hair pulled back into a bun, maybe even with a hat on so you can go incognito. Basically looking like you just came from a 6 a.m. yoga class and you're on your way to go get a green smoothie before going home and literally doing nothing and relaxing. Or if you can think back to America's Next Top Model, how like the girls would dress super basic and Tyra would be like, yeah, that looks like a model. Like if you're too overly dressed, you don't look like a model. You know, it's like black tank top, black yoga pants, hair pulled back, you know, natural face. That's kind of like the off-duty model aesthetic. But the fashion aesthetic that the Victoria's Secret Angel franchise is known for, of course, is the luxury, leisure, at-home aesthetic. So lingerie, of course, silk robes, house slippers. It just alludes to I take care of myself really well when no one's watching, or I look glamorous for myself even when I'm at home. It gives like I don't cook, I don't clean, I just do my skincare and watch romantic chick flicks on Netflix on my big plush couch vibes. Like it gives before I go to sleep, I drink chamomile tea and I put essential oils in my diffuser. It definitely gives. Even my little Maltese sleeps in silk sheets, and I really love that. So getting into body image, we can't talk about the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic and supermodels without talking about the body yaddy yaddy. So like you've heard so many times on this channel before, Pilates, low impact workouts. The average Victoria's Secret Angel works out at least 3 to 5 times a week, which is wild. You know, it's not normally what the average woman would be able to do, especially with a busy schedule, but maybe even more than that, almost twice a day, especially before shows. So with this aesthetic, skinny fit is in, and it's really not enough to just be thin, honestly. Like, it doesn't cross over into looking unhealthy, or at least it shouldn't, but having a lean and slightly muscular figure is very on brand with the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic as well. Like, if you look at some of their models, they're slim, but they're still cut. They're probably stronger than what you would think. Like, muscle definition is really important, but obviously not exaggerated muscle definition. So eating right, cardio, Pilates, low impact workouts, but definitely with a few strength training sprinkled in probably gets the job done. So discipline is also really important when it comes to body image. So health and staying fit and active, like models like Adriana Lima, I especially love because she was always very blunt and honest about how to achieve that Victoria's Secret Angel look.
You have to work out every day. I'm sorry. Muscles, you have to maintain the muscles, and every day it's very important.
Okay.
Number 3, you have to watch what you eat. Very important. 4, in my case, you need a trainer because I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
I need somebody to
push you.
basically push me out there. Otherwise, I won't be in the gym. 5, cardio with some weights.
Cardio with weights. These are all really good tips.
You need to do both. Okay?
Okay.
How many I have?
5. What things do you eat?
You start 2 months before, and then you start eating like protein. Egg whites, tofu if you like, oatmeal.
And I think, to be honest about the way they achieve their looks is important because it does take a lot of hard work and discipline. They don't really just wake up like that without having to do anything. I believe, honestly, that a lot of Victoria's Secret models, like, that's what they have in common, is that discipline and that drive to be the best that they can be to their standard and to the Victoria's Secret Angel standard. So simply put, it's not just a look, it's a lifestyle. And I think that a lot of people discredit models, and especially supermodels, when it comes to this. Is almost borderline disrespectful because a lot of these women can probably give advice about discipline in a way that a lot of people cannot. It's definitely not about skipping meals and being hard on yourself as much as there is a science to things. So there are nutritionists and trainers involved, of course, chefs and meal plans, which may not be accessible to the general public, but mentality and time management is a thing as well. And those are both positive things that anyone can add to their lifestyle rather than, you know, bickering about the body image ideals. I feel like anyone could adopt certain traits like discipline to their daily schedule, and even if you don't have that particular 5'8" slim body type, you know, you can get close to it, or you can kind of just live the lifestyle. You don't have to necessarily have body goals. You can just be inspired, and if you wanted to follow some of these workout routines or lifestyles, like, obviously talk to your doctor, talk to your nutritionist, because being healthy is really important when it comes to this type of things. But anyway, tall girls rejoice because the minimum height of a Victoria's Secret Angel is 5'9", which kind of sets that beauty standard of the Victoria's Secret Angel to be very tall. Also, a lot of them wear that amazing bombshell bra that can turn an A cup into almost like a C cup. But if you don't fit the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic, like I said, especially the body type, it doesn't mean you're not fit for the look or you can't participate in the dreamy aesthetic. It doesn't mean you can't be a part of the fantasy either. You just have to draw inspiration while being yourself. This is really just about aesthetics and branding. And the first thing that people think of when they think of a Victoria's Secret model, like, let's be real, like, even me, I'm 5'4", but I would still participate in this aesthetic if I wanted to, but I wouldn't be self-deprecating in the midst of it because I'm not 5'11" and I don't have a thigh gap, you know? Like, I can appreciate it for what it is and imply certain things that are realistic to my life. And I think especially when you're watching this type of video or any of my videos, like, that's really what it's for. It's just like you learn from other women. You can appreciate things like the discipline and the lifestyle and the hard work that they go through to, you know, look how they look. So to me, when Victoria's Secret tried to be more inclusive of different body types and features, it came off as performative and desperate. And not in a way that I'm trying to say like they shouldn't do those things, but for me, it's like they just pivoted too far away from the brand that we're all familiar with. Like, you didn't start that way, so why are you trying to appeal in that way now? I understand the pressure that they may have gotten, especially back in 2016, to be more inclusive, but they really should have just taken a humble step back, understand that their brand has never been that inclusive girl, and it's okay in my opinion. I think that's why when Savage X Fenty came out being diverse from the get-go, it was so popular and successful because it was real and authentic and intentional. So to me, what feels real for the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic is the tall, thin, and gorgeous girl with the big hair. And personally, I think that's okay, especially now that there are so many brands that have that authenticity when it comes to inclusiveness, especially in image and body type. It's just like, girl, like, be you. You don't have to be fake. You don't have to pretend. Embrace where you came from, acknowledge it, and be real about it. Victoria's Secret, I think, just really needs to own the look that they started with and the branding that they started with, that they've had for years and that they're known for, because in reality, they can't even compete with the other brands that have been inclusive from the start. Like, even if they try to me, even that's problematic, because now you're trying to capitalize off of something that was a direct retaliation against your original branding. So why try to take up space in that sector when you're already so big in the space that you've created for yourself? Anyway, it's kind of like, let the girl shine and continue doing you, even if you're not popular at the moment. That's why I always make sure to say that beauty is definitely on a spectrum. Like, sometimes your beauty will be pedestalized and sometimes your beauty will not be. One day it'll be skinny, another day it'll be curvy, the next day it'll be something else. The same with any type of beauty standard. You kind of just have to accept yourself for who you are at the end of the day. The people who will continuously celebrate that image are the ones that you can look to, I don't know, for a confidence boost, because you should really be able to do that for yourself anyways, is what I'm saying. But I hope you guys get what I mean when I say this, but let me know what you think. Like, even if you disagree, I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments, but just know that I'm going to stick by my opinion, because I'd be lying if I said that's not how I feel. Plus, along with the whole Victoria's Secret inclusive thing, I really think it's just so rude to say you're inclusive and then you strip the entire brand of its glamour and its depth, and now it's just beiges and nude colors and a plain white background. That's boring to me. Like, sure, bring in different looks and sizes of models, but why throw away the whole brand? Why throw away the baby out with the bathwater? Like, why are we doing that? Like, inclusiveness doesn't have to mean less sexy and less pink and less glamorous. Like, what are we doing? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I also like how the Victoria's Secret and Angel franchise kind of subliminally represents the female friend groups of like-minded women who enjoy a similar aesthetic and understand it and embrace it in a way that others might not. I think when we can realize what certain things appeal to us, it makes it more clear the people that we want to be around. And there's a bit of that within the aesthetic as well, like how the models always seem to get along and hang out with each other. And I know that's how it's just portrayed and not always reality, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. Overall, if you're sensitive to this kind of topic, don't indulge in it, don't overindulge in it or overconsume it. Like, look after your mental health first, always. These models prioritize the camera lens over the human eye. They wear body makeup, and photographers and editors still Photoshop them at the end of the day, especially in the past eras. And what I'm hoping we can also see this year is a bit more realism in proportions and skin textures. I think that would be a really nice touch to the initial glam aesthetic, but make sure you're not overly fixating on having body goals or trying to look like someone else rather than just being your healthy self. Like I said, go to a doctor and get a nutritionist and see what's best for you and the plans that you should take, the foods that you should eat for your type of blood type, X, Y, and Z. So let's move on to the Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic when it comes to room, space, and home decor. So Victoria's Secret themed vanities, closets, and home decor always involves like a low and high contrast. Of course, there's a rich, spoiled girly aesthetic to this as well that shows in having luxurious products and items like lined up in your closet. It's basically just like a haven of beauty and a theme of womanhood that's just really fun for some people. And I love that the most. Overall, with home and space decor, there's an emphasis on self-care, silk fabrics, fun wallpapers, and as well as luxury and comfort in general. The Victoria's Secret Angel aesthetic in general, especially things like that black and pink provocateur aesthetic, it's just always so pleasing and has a bit of a fantasy to it. Like if you remember the 2014 Fitspo aesthetic that sort of derived from the early Victoria's Secret eras, like the Nike Pro running shorts and the neon triangle bikinis. Definitely watch out for that trend that maybe come back up sometime next year, but hopefully not. So let's get into some predictions, which I think are really fun because with the Victoria's Secret Angel fashion show, this is a really big event on the calendar for fashion, especially because I think everyone is definitely ready to see what Victoria's Secret will bring to the table, especially after Savage X Fenty knocked them down so hard. So what I think Rihanna really set the tone for lingerie fashion shows and showing that they can be interesting and dynamic. So that's number one. The girls just want to have fun approach more than appeasing your man in bed. I think in 2024, the Victoria's Secret Angel is more so about the woman feeling sexy for herself rather than a man. So lingerie is no longer about the male gaze as much as it is, I want this so I can appeal to myself. If they do this right, they will appeal to the female gaze more than the male gaze. I also think that they're coming back for their crown as the top source for lingerie. This could even bring back the shopping mall culture if they decide to double down on their aesthetic appeal in stores. I think that they could also come for Lululemon's neck when it comes to athleisure. If they expand on their aesthetics, especially throughout the pink line, I think they could replace Lululemon as the top athleisure girly. So imagine Lululemon, but with more pink, more rhinestones, and just a more girly and feminine appeal as well. A lot of people are making bank off of the Victoria's Secret branding aesthetic, or the original one anyway. They could potentially partner with brands like Charlotte Tilbury, whose branding sort of alludes to that nostalgic Victoria's Secret era. I think creating a makeup line could be very successful. I feel like they can definitely also collaborate with brands like the Stanley Cup to create Victoria's Secret Stanley Cups or something like that. I think that'll be really cool. They can also definitely capitalize capitalize on the self-care and wellness movement by possibly expanding their product lines to include more lifestyle items, like I said, which they've already done this, but I think that the brand has the potential to become a forerunner for sure. There's also the likelihood of Victoria's Secret tapping into virtual fashion shows and digital experiences to engage a global audience, which we're really not ready for, but it's nice as well. I think it would be really cool to see a technology advanced Victoria's Secret image kind of come forward. I think that would be very unique as well, especially if they keep the glamour aesthetic with it as well. And lastly, there could be the return of lingerie as outerwear, or like peaking lingerie with like everyday outfits. We could see more slip dresses. And like I said, underneath some classic styles, definitely in streetwear styles. It's all just very fun and experimental. And I think that this is going to be a really big thing for the culture in general, especially if they do it right. Like, I honestly want Victoria's Secret to do really well this year and like shake the table a bit by doubling down on its glamorous and nostalgic image in general. I feel like they have a little bit of support from like the whole Barbie thing that happened last year. So it shows you that like women, we want to wear pink. We want to be like cutesy and girly. We enjoy that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be so gimmicky. So as you can tell, I have super high expectations, because even now with their advertising, they give like slight lip service to body diversity, and then bam, Bella Hadid at the forefront of every campaign, which I love Bella, but like she cannot be the face of every brand. Like, please. Everybody cannot be your son. Like, give us a break. But that's really all I have for you today. I really wanted to create this video because I really want to know your opinions. I want to know your predictions. I want to hear about your nostalgia. If you were like a big Victoria's Secret girl in the past, I want to know. And you can leave that down in the comments below. I hope you like this video. This is all I have for you today. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.